Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, March 3rd, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Well, today, again, we have a number of feasts, most of which, interestingly enough, in fact, actually all of which take place in France. So first up, we'll go to Our Lady of Angels in Toulouse, France. It was 1212, and three merchants were passing through the forest of Bondy in France when, unfortunately, they were set upon by robbers. After being robbed, they were bound to trees and left to their fate. Since it was a wild and lonely place, known to be the haunt of robbers, their chances of rescue were few. They prayed earnestly to God and Our Lady, and after one day and one night, angels came in visible form and released them. Now the men discovered a spring near the place they had been bound, which they considered to be miraculous. They determined to set up a shrine of Our Lady on the spot in thanksgiving for their deliverance. Right? Now, they set up a first statue in the shrine. It was intended only to be temporary until they could find something better, right? But almost immediately, there began a stream of miraculous cures from those who prayed before that rough little statue. In the following years, many pilgrims came in droves to the site, right? And we know this from numerous drinking vessels found during archaeological excavations. That same statue remains today, although it's been richly clothed and decked with jewels. Right? In 1260, the chapel was enlarged so it would enclose the spring. And in 1663, the chapel was rebuilt and redecorated, and it remained that way until the French Revolution, when it was completely destroyed. However, after the terror passed, the chapel was rebuilt in 1808. Right? There's many different beautiful things there. One of the many offerings for Thanksgiving is a ship suspended above the altar. It was a gift from a group of sailors who were saved from shipwreck at Our Lady's intercession. On Sunday, September 9th, 2012, the Diocese of Saint-Denis celebrated the 800th anniversary of the pilgrimage to Notre-Dame des Anges in that town. Right? This pilgrimage to the shrine always takes place on the second Sunday of September, right? And it's thought to be perhaps the second oldest pilgrimage site in France. Likewise, in France, we were told that they celebrate Our Lady of Longport in Valois, France. The feast is mentioned on numerous websites, but Father Christopher tells me no information can be found. Well, that is unfortunate. But last, we also have Notre-Dame de Miracle in Suriname, Pas de Calais, France, right? So in 649, that was Saint Odomar, or Omer, converted Androvold, a landholder who gave the saint some property on which to build a church and monastery, right? Now, unfortunately, there was already a shrine on the land, but to Minerva. So Odomar, or Saint Omer, destroyed Minerva's image and instead built a church of Our Lady on the hill where her shrine had been, right? So take it from Minerva and give it to Our Lady, right? His relics, as well as those of Saint Eckenbode, who served as the abbot in the following century, gained a reputation for miracles, right? So it's a very beautiful tradition, this old town and this old church. There was a series of fires that took place in the year, like the thousands and 1100s. So unfortunately, most of the historical record was lost, right? In fact, there was a big fire in 1191, which destroyed the Romanesque church of 1052, right? But it was rebuilt over the next centuries. It became a cathedral in 1561, after the town of Saint Omer became the seat of a new diocese, right? The present gilt oak statue of Our Lady of Miracles appears to date all the way back to the 1200s, right? So it's a very beautiful tradition there. And again, a wonderful tradition. The diocese apparently is no longer the Diocese of Saint Omer. It's now part of the Diocese of Arras. So when they opened the church, they wanted to take when it ceased to be a diocese, they wanted to take the statue elsewhere. But the parishioners of Saint Denis wanted to keep it, so they got it back in a hidden way, right? It was on July 18th, 1875, that the statue was canonically crowned, and in 1876, Pope Leo XIII named the basilica, the Church of Notre-Dame de Saint-Omer, a basilica, right? And that's what we're celebrating today in the Marian world on March 3rd. For today's reading from the Imitation of Mary by Alexander de Rouville, we continue with Book 3, which considers Mary's virtues from the death of Jesus until his ascension. And today we'll consider Chapter 5, Our Repugnance for Suffering Should Not Surprise Us. And again, as we've had in the past, this is a conversation between the believer and Mary. We start with the believer, then Mary has a long discourse, and then the believer replies. The believer. The sight of the cross disturbs me deeply, Holy Virgin, and I turn to you. I feel a very strong repugnance for suffering, and this attitude frightens me. Mary. My child, natural repugnance is no fault in God's eyes. It makes it all the more meritorious for you to be perseveringly submissive to His will. When people say the saints loved suffering, the meaning is not that they had any natural liking for it. The man in them groaned at the thought. It was the Christian who rejoiced. Nature resisted, but the Christian triumphed over nature. Do you perhaps think that my sensibilities were dulled on Calvary? If every mother feels keenly the evils that afflict her children, imagine my suffering at seeing my Jesus weighed down by so much infamy and torment. You would have had to have loved Jesus as I did to understand the immensity of my pain. Even Jesus, in the Garden of Olives, allowed himself to feel deeply the fear of suffering and death. He did not allow his divinity, which gave infinite value to his suffering, to lessen his experience of it. My child, if in affliction you sincerely want whatever God wants, you need not be at all disturbed by the repugnance you feel against your will. Even if you find yourself yielding to natural feeling, do not lose heart. That would be to add a new fault to your lack of patience. It is secret pride that makes you upset because you are not perfect. You are weak, and God knows your weakness. You are a man, not an angel. No man can live his entire life without committing some small faults, even though he tries to avoid them all. Unlike me, you were not conceived in freedom from sin, nor exempted from all inclinations to evil and all the weaknesses proper to mankind. When a complaint escapes you, promptly ask pardon of God. Promise Him you will do better. Ask His grace for this purpose, regain your tranquility, and increase your watchfulness over yourself. You cannot better expiate a fault than by the humiliation it makes you feel. My child, only with the saints in heaven will you be unable to sin. The believer. Queen of saints, when will that good fortune be mine? When shall I be freed of the fear of offending my God, that fear that is painful to a heart that loves Him? Mother of grace and mercy, help your servant. Give me your powerful protection, and be my shield against the enemies that seek to destroy me.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed our Marian podcast. As St. John Paul II teaches us, from Mary we learn to love Christ, her Son, the Son of God. Through her intercession, may we grow ever closer to Him. We encourage you to share this with a loved one or friend and help spread our devotion to Mary. Thank you, and God bless.